Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, Leo King here on highvibe.tv. And of course, we are going live here on YouTube. Today is actually October the 1st of 2020, and we're getting very close to the end of 2020, as you know, and the astrology is getting to other dimensional, I would say, in many aspects. And so today I have on Erika Othen, that goes on as Crystalline Codes. And she is part of High Vibe now, and she's got an awesome school coming out beyond the planets. But we're going to talk about the planets today, and I really want to question Erika. And if y'all don't know, her and I have a very long history. And actually, it was her that was the one that was sitting on Venice Boulevard with me when I was doing this stuff a long time ago. So good to have you on, Erika.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, super excited.
It's kind of funny because I'm like looking at you like as if you're like some sort of guest or something when I'm like, I mean, we met on a reality show in 2009.
Yeah.
We've been lovers. We've lived together, best friends. You watched me start my whole astrology career. I mean, literally, you were the one that supported me in my personal life the most. So I have to thank you for that.
I appreciate that. Yeah. It's a soul contract, right? Just like supporting one another in the mission, like through thick and thin. I feel like that's really what it's about.
It is. And so with you, I mean, it's kind of, I don't want to say I'm biased because it's like, I'm not, because actually I'm a full disclosure person, right? And I know you are too. When you and I stopped living together in 2012 during literally it was the Gemini eclipse.
Reversal of the nodes, right?
Yeah, it was reversal of the nodes. And you definitely learned a lot of astrology through me, but it wasn't like I sat there and taught you it or something. You went on your own right after it and created your whole astrology brand and have been doing it since. So
yeah, but like meeting you, right, and us living together was the catalyst for just like huge activation. Like for me, that just shifted and changed everything. Like really put me on the course of like the mission, right? And like a whole new trajectory, like by far. Like moving to California, that was like a crazy exciting time, right? It was like a whole new world. Life was like an adventure. I had always wanted to live in California like all my life, right? So coming here, meeting you, meeting everyone from Soul Garden back in the day, it was like opening me up to this whole new world and like up leveling and a huge activation of remembrance, like in the biggest way possible.
Well, and it was even, we won't say names except for people that I guess we know, but it was one of your girlfriends and one of your jobs who gave you Bringers of the Dawn. And then I happened to just end up in my lap because I think I just kept it on the toilet at a place. So every day, but I read the whole thing so quick, right? I just like went like, and that was my activation already with all the astrology. And we were hanging out with Chris all the time, and I was doing my show Astro Gossip with him and Astro Mingle when you and I met, and you were coming to all the Soul Garden parties, and we were all kind of coming up together, a bunch of us in this spiritual community, and so you and I activated at the same time this really intense, and I would say it's very Pleiadian, and that's what's going to jump into what I kind of want to talk about with you. So of course that's been a big part of my journey as well, but you've really taken the star seeds, the different asteroids to, I mean, I think you were doing a lot of like star seed activation astrology readings for years. Why don't you tell us about that, what that's about, and then maybe how can you bridge that into what you're seeing in the astrology for the end of 2020 here?
Yeah, so like to go back to Bringers of the Dawn, like that was the shift. Like it was just a huge activation for me. Like that book coming into my life, coming into our life really, right? It happened in the most like unlikely way. I was working in like a nightclub in Hollywood, and someone who I was working with, their mother, hands me this book. I had never met her before.
Oh, it was her mom?
It was her mom. And she
was
I
remember that. I remember it was just in your purse.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
And she was her mom, and she's like, hey, I think that you need to read this. And I was like, okay, and it took me a while to actually read it. You read it first,
I did.
right? But when I read that book, it was just like, like activated everything, right? Like a huge, to me, I feel like that was all of 2012 was like the big catalyst for my awakening. Like moving to California, obviously everything, like meeting you and all your friends. And I feel like us all reuniting, like soul tribe reuniting, right? But then that book, like just a soul level remembrance for me. And I was like, why does this like resonate so deeply, right? Like it literally resonated like in my blood and in my bones. And I'm like, all right, so this is like talking about the Pleiades. I was like, well, where is the Pleiades? And I looked it up. The Pleiades, 26 degrees Taurus to 0 degree Gemini, right? I'm a 0 degree Gemini sun. So my sun, right? When I was born, right in the Pleiades on Alcyon. So that was like, that's why it resonates. Like I am a Pleiadian, you know? And
that was the eclipse in 2012, May 20th, that was on your birthday. And my moon's 28 Taurus, so you and I have that sun-moon connection.
Right, in the Pleiades.
And we have that 1 degree separation point, which there was a new moon that was happening to an eclipse, but at 29 Taurus, and we broke up the 1 degree, like a cigar cutter, I say.
Yep.
We broke up literally that day,
yeah,
the day before
it was
the
right
eclipse.
before my birthday, yeah.
And it was all the Pleiadian eclipses, and it was also, I was writing all the blogs at that time about 2012 and preparing people for 2012. And I understand that activation. It was like a key that woke all this up.
Huge key. Yeah, it was a huge key.
When you work with all these what is a star seed? I'm just gonna be honest, because there's other people that's come on here, and I know we've had other guests that talk about it, but like, I connect with architects and kind of outside the whole,
like creator gods, that kind of vibe.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I draw too. I mean,
yeah.
So to me, the starseed thing, I'm trying to still understand, to be very frank and honest with you.
Yeah, so basically a starseed is the idea that we are, like it's our cosmic lineage, right? That the same way, if you believe in reincarnation, that we can live many lives on Earth, we could live many lives outside of Earth, right? So different planets, different galaxies, different star nations, okay? So through like a starseed activation, I'm looking to see where all the planets align to these different points, to these different, I call them like star families, right? So it is the cosmic lineage of your soul. And star seeds, I believe that star seeds, we've incarnated now in this dawning of the new age to help shift humanity into its highest potential, right? To really embody our gifts. These are like cosmic gifts, to embody our highest self and our highest expression in order to really support humanity in this new age, in this new consciousness.
So when you get that info to somebody, how do you do your dissertation of a chart for somebody with it, as far as once you found that info, what are you helping them gain by knowing this?
So it's remembering who you are, right? It all comes down to remembering who you are, remembering the mission, and it's like the mission of your soul. For instance, like I'm Pleiadian, you're Pleiadian, right? So Pleiadian starseeds, it's all about the message, like getting the information and the message out there in like a really light, high vibrational way, you know, like very mission based. Arcturian starseeds, they're master healers, also like really creative and artistic souls, but often have like a really innate gift for like healing and channeling healing energy, either like through their hands, say like Reiki, that kind of vibe, or even like through their voice. It's just a modality that I channeled. I feel like it's like ancient future codes that I've channeled.
Well, and then there's Sirius, right?
And my rising is right on Sirius, right? And my north node. So like this is, it was activated by a deep soul remembrance through me. And then as I started to see it through that lens, I was like, oh, wow, okay, it's in this person's chart. It's in this person's chart. Like they have these skills. They have these gifts too. It's time to like embody it. Like this is, like for all of us really, like our gifts are gifts to humanity.
Right.
How we can best show up to be of service to humanity. And I really feel like that's what a star seed activation does. It like ignites this remembrance of your soul, of this like cosmic energy. Like we're made of stars, right? And I mean, for some people, like the cosmic energy doesn't resonate as much, but I also tap into the Akashic. Like maybe people have past lifetimes in Egypt, which all comes up a ton, especially with like the Sirius connection. I'll see like a strong resonance to the mystery schools, to learning things like Tantra, Hermeticism, alchemy, magic, like all of it. Right. So also like it's connected to the ancient Mayans as well. I can see connections to Atlantis, Lemuria.
What about like Spica, like in Libra? What is that?
Arcturus.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then
that's
what about like
Arcturus.
Antares and the Aldebaran opposition?
So yeah, so the four fixed royal stars, right? So Antares, Aldebaran, Fomalhaut, and Regulus, archangel energy, right? So they all hold space for archangels, but they're totally own like star lineage as well,
right.
So that's really how I track it. Like I use all the different fixed stars, and there's so many.
There's a lot.
So many points, and
Well,
you know,
besides that is all these asteroids, and I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'm like, okay, like I have nothing against them. I just am somebody who, you know, I like to get a lot of data, but I also spend a lot of data. You know me, I'm like the layers of every layer of cake that there could possibly be in the universe of astrology. Like I'm very layered astrology, where I feel like, you know, and I think it's an important thing right now because of the exoplanets that are being found way out, far away, the exoplanets, and there's all this stuff that we're trying to understand now, and in the astrology community there really is, you know, it's kind of like it's hard to understand how to bring all that data together by people applying it themselves. That's how it's done. And so with you, it's not only you mixing all these starseed elements, but you're mixing all these different objects to be used. So like for you, what are the objects that you like to use? And I know you're going to be teaching this class that's going to be 8 weeks. It's going to be a lot like my Love Masterclass, how I did it for 8 weeks, once a week meeting, and everybody's on Zoom and gets to meet up and through High Vibe TV School. But what are some of your favorite stuff, and how are you going to teach this school to people to understand in their chart all this?
Yeah, so I like love working with the asteroids. Like I feel I could spend an entire reading on like someone's Lilith in their chart, right? Because I feel like it just gives such a beautiful dimension of divine feminine energy within the chart. Like traditional astrology uses Venus, right, and the moon. Venus, the lover. I like to think like heart, inner goddess, right? How we love, how we give and receive love. The moon, our like subconscious, instinctual nature, mother, inner child, all that, right? But the asteroids paint such a richer picture of divine feminine energy. And it's potent for men too, right? Like it's all relevant, but especially when I'm working with women, I think diving into like deep into those asteroids, it's so powerful.
Well, it reminds me of the meme, you know, men, it's like on off switch and maybe a knob that goes from low to high, and then there's that meme of women, and it's like a spaceship and all the buttons and all the knobs, right? So as a guy, like we you know, we're pretty simple, and then with women, you know, it's like today I don't know which button to push and what degree and what like, you know, that's what men feel like sometimes, right? I know that might trigger some people, but it's like that's Venus though. It's the hottest planet. It's got gas all over it, a toxic gas too, by the way. Whereas, but let's not, you know, Mars. We don't know what's going on there. It looks like it had water, no more water left, right? So it's dry, and it's looks like there's some weird things that happen on that place. Some faces on there.
A lot of war. A lot of war happened.
A lot of war happened there. It looks like it got
left.
decimated. So at least Venus is keeping it real. You know, like Mars
we got that
is
little
kind of
siren energy. Like what's going on? Like bringing it through. Yeah, it's the asteroids are just so powerful. I love working with them. I also love working with the 13th sign. I really
I know you do.
I do.
And I'm somebody who, I mean, of course I'm very into understanding the astronomy and understanding all about the zodiacal elements, but I feel that, you know, as a tropical astrologer and somebody who does bridge, I'm pretty good with bridging and sidereal, but it is a weird zone. I mean, even when you look at it, it does have a weird element to it, and it, of course, the media is covering it, I think, wrong.
Totally. I completely agree. Like, I don't believe that adding the 13th sign, which is very connected to the divine feminine and goddess energy, it's like this hidden sign that's kind of been there, but like hidden from sight.
Right.
Especially the number 13 is such a sacred number and symbol of the goddess. If you look on the tropical, like the foot of Ophiuchus is actually like right in there, like dipping right in there. So I don't feel that all the signs should shift, but that those points between like 8-9 degrees of Sagittarius to the galactic center, right? Like that it's like a combination, I look at it, of Ophiuchus and Sagittarius. And Ophiuchus brings in like a whole other flavor and element. It's kind of similar to Sag, but it's funny because
it's the serpent bear.
The serpent bear, right? And the serpent, a very like sacred symbol. That's Kundalini energy, right? It's like the caduceus. I always think of the caduceus, which is like healing. And if I were to relate any planet to Ophiuchus, the 13th sign, it would actually be Eris, which is another kind of hidden planet. If she was there, then she got kicked out and demoted along with Pluto and Ceres. But so yesterday in your deep astrology, you were talking about Maleficent, right? And like the whole story with the
I was also
Aurora.
talking about Eris a lot.
Eris a lot.
But Eris is an actual planet. Like, you
Eris
know?
is a planet. I mean, astronomy considers a dwarf planet. I consider her a planet, like full on, right?
Right.
And I would really relate her. She has a similar vibration to the 13th sign. And so she has a maleficent vibration to her. I look at her as she's actually the higher octave of Lilith. So I always say she's like Lilith's auntie that taught Lilith everything. Okay.
So she helped her snort something at grandma's funeral.
You have a different perspective. I love me some Lilith. Like, I love Lilith.
My view on Lilith is I will do this no matter what. Because it goes against like, F you God, I'm gonna do this.
No, but I don't think it's not F you God. I believe Lilith is sovereignty and rising up,
of course,
and not bowing down to be suppressed. So
of course.
It's like
so
not
like,
to God
like,
though. She wanted to be respected for her own as an equal. She wanted to be respected as an equal, you know? And yeah, I believe she exiled herself out of the garden, right?
So that's why I always say it's like snorting a line at grandma's funeral because it's the energy of, that's what it kind of takes though, of like, I'm gonna do this, whatever it is, such as what you said. But I will also, like, because it kind of brings up a shadow element.
It's 100% a shadow.
So that's why I bring up.
It is like a dark.
Y'all know me. I trigger a lot of people out there. Everybody, you know, I bring up the shadow stuff pretty well.
Well, it's like that Kali Ma energy, right? Like, and when you see Kali Ma represented, it's like she's got her tongue out and she's blue and she's like, and she's like the demon slayer, right? So there is this aspect to Lilith that is a demon slayer. I think that she was demonized for thousands of years. She was demonized, right? Because it is this untamed, spontaneous, wild nature that wants to rise up, especially related to the feminine, right? That freaks people out, and they don't like it because they can't put her in a box.
So my Lilith is in Pisces.
Yeah.
At 21, 22 degrees, depending on astro or astro gold, which I think is kind of funny. Mm-hmm. In the 8th. Is that why I will hit my jewel even in the middle of an interview? Is that why?
Lilith's got a renegade heart. She's a rebel, right? She is like this rebel heart. And I have a similar placement to Lilith. So mine's in Sagittarius, which is this like wild free spirit, but mine's exactly conjunct Neptune, like to the exact degree in the galactic center. So there is this like cosmic vibration to my Lilith. There's also this like, but Lilith, like your Lilith in Pisces in the 8th house, like that's a lot of this deep wisdom that you know from the mystery traditions, you know, like, yeah, you embody Lilith energy for sure in the way that you're just like, fuck you, I'm gonna do what I want, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, maybe that's why that's how
know?
I channel Lilith in a horoscope for the collective whenever Lilith's around, but then based upon the sign, of course.
Well, no one's putting you in a box, right? No one's going to tell you.
but
it's a similar vibration to kind of like your Mars and Scorpio. That's like more of like that masculine. Lilith's got
Why
that
does she move around so much? Because she's not really a physical object, right?
She's flying around. Lilith actually, she has a very erratic orbit, which I wanted to talk about as far as what's coming up for 2020. I was just tracking her today. So the full moon.
You got to track her.
You got to track, but you
But
can't
that's
track
what's funny
her
is
'cause
she
she's like,
doesn't
I'm not
want to
gonna
be
in the box.
tracked,
Like, you
yet
wanna
she
be,
needs a
she's hiding here,
tracker.
zipping over here. You try to track her.
Like they,
in one day,
it's
she'll
horrifying
jump.
that they track dolphins and stuff and tag these
can't-
sharks. I feel like with Lilith, it's like they're doing that. Like, let's track
she's like,
her.
she's running away. No, she's that renegade heart. She's just that wild renegade heart. And so the full moon on the 31st, which is going to be gnarly.
Taurus, right?
Yeah, it's going to be gnarly. It's opposing, the moon is going to be conjunct Uranus, right? So Lilith moves into Taurus on that day, on the election, right? So right around the 2nd and the 3rd.
So she comes back to
Lilith
Aries.
is going to be, on the election, Lilith is going to be right on Uranus. Right there. So Uranus is already the great awakener, right? Like just that rebel spirit, people rising up. Lilith has that dimension too. We're going to see people like, I feel it. It's like this wild, like, now don't agree with this, tired of the deception, tired of the lies, tired of the like BS, like people really rising up. And
do you think it'll be more collective? Or do you think it's going to be individualized value systems of people kind of clashing?
Both. I think both. I really do. I think like individually, like on a personal level, this whole year has been like shadow work, right? It's like we're experiencing the Tower card, everything falling and breaking down to be rebuilt, right? And it's the Great Awakening. We're literally experiencing the Great Awakening in real time, how I perceive it. And I feel like we're doing a ton of shadow work, right? And we're seeing that. Consciousness is so apparent. Now you can literally see it on people's faces, and it's very polarizing. Like we're all kind of healing and integrating and figuring it out, and like the shadow work, like going like really, really deep. But beginning of November, it's going to be reignited, but it has to break down all of these systems, the corruption, the deception, the lies, bringing all of this deep, dark, hidden stuff to reveal it, bringing it into light, right? I think Uranus is actually going to kind of like, because Uranus does elevate, right? So it's going to like, Lilith is a shadow, bringing it into light.
This is going to be interesting too, because I'm pretty sure, which degree, I think it's going to be around 7 degrees, right?
Right on Uranus, yeah.
Right. And so Neptune's going back to 18. So the semi-square's coming back into play of Neptune and Uranus with Lilith. Lilith will actually semi-square Neptune right before that time as well. But it's ironic because as we're speaking on this full moon in Aries today on October the 1st, it's Lilith with Eris and Mars retrograde.
Yeah.
So how would it be when Lilith and Eris meet up? As you say, they're kind of the auntie and the...
Yeah, I look at the
what would that be?
It's the higher octave.
Right.
So the same way that you can look at Neptune as a higher octave of Venus, right? Eris is the higher octave of Lilith, and it's happening right now. It's going to happen again. So Lilith is going to move into Taurus around the 31st, going to be conjunct on
So
Uranus,
again,
like I
'cause
said.
it's actually coming into Taurus
she's going
this
back.
week. Yeah,
she's going back and forth,
right.
back and forth. And then around the third week of November, Lilith is actually moving all the way back to like hit Eris again. So it's almost like it's like great awakening, things being revealed, all of this stuff coming to light, and then she like goes back to like Eris to like get some more. It's like going back into the shadows in a way, right? To like
she's
go
going
deeper.
into the bathroom at grandma's funeral with another person, and they're doing a lot more than just playing around in the bathroom. So, but that's what's crazy to me is, so with Eris, from my research, she causes chaos.
She is. She's known as the goddess of discord, right? She is very related to Maleficent because the mythology goes that all of the gods and goddesses were invited to this party, right? Very a la Sleeping Beauty. And then except for Eris, because she's unpredictable, right? So they didn't invite her. She finds out about the party, gets aggravated. There's an element of poetic justice to Eris. So she shows up at the party anyway, throws an apple in the middle of the whole room, the whole scene that's written on it, "To the fairest." All the goddesses go nuts. They start fighting over it, and they say that that's actually what caused the Trojan War. So she doesn't act out for like no reason. It's almost because there's an element of like she is the underdog. People don't realize this about her, but in a way she's the underdog. She's kind of like the forgotten one. She's the one that like wants to be included, but she's not, but she's going to get her poetic justice anyway. She represents like empowerment through shadow work, which it's the full spectrum, like the darkness and the light. We have to heal those aspects of ourselves to transcend it to light. And that is a big part of what Eris represents. It's also like healing. She's very much like a midwife and a doula. So she's connected to this like almost indigenous, sacred vibration of the feminine. I feel both of them are really misunderstood.
Okay, so there's a lot of feminine, like maybe that's why, as the divine masculine. And I think you've seen probably my divine feminine more than most people.
You're 100% divine masculine in my book.
Well, I'm saying that I have a feminine side for sure, but I would say as a masculine, maybe I don't play with them as much because it's like, it seems like every time I go into all these asteroids, they're all feminine. Where's the masculine ones?
Well,
Chiron.
Chiron, right?
So, but I'm North Node Chiron. I'm definitely, I don't want to toot my own Leo horn here, but I would say that I definitely know how to channel Chiron energy and horoscopes better than everybody in the world. Let's be real. And I've done my own exclusive work on feeling that actually that Chiron is the definition of of humanity itself. Like, and the soul of what humans are going through. Done a lot of work on that, but
definitely.
Maybe that's a masculine thing for me, right? Like it's like having to integrate. This is, I think, the divine masculine's issue and challenge, right? Is understanding the feminine better. And this is that moment for that. And that's why here on High Vibe, of course, like you're doing her story right now with Anne and with Tamara. You're doing the sound healings. And then, of course, this school, or having this talk.
Yeah.
And as the CEO of High Vibe and everything, it's like, for me, I've had to, as a masculine, go, wow. I talked about the feminine rising for a long time, and I've definitely, I would say, held support for the feminine for the last 8.5 years, very extreme, and rising that up, but it's a new level now.
Yeah.
And so that's another reason why I feel that this school is important for people, because I'm not that I'm not capable, I'm just not there yet. The masculine is not ready to teach the feminine. I'm just going to be honest. Like, I think we could be supporting role and be a great contrast and also be an activator in many ways, or like a supporting activation, a protector.
A protector. Yeah.
But I feel that think of how ironic it is with the asteroids. They're misunderstood. They're fragmented, kind of in more distant places, and there is a kind of an underdog story with a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I think that by acknowledging them, by accepting them, by also integrating them, it's quite the opposite of the underdog at that point, because it actually gives them and shows this very other multi-dimensional side of our souls and our collective that needs to be understood in a time where there's a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of unknowns.
Yes.
That this would be the moment to go beyond, to start to look at this, which is the feminine, which I would say that when you just look up at the night sky, I mean, you know, the feminine always gets associated with the container that holds the whole reality, basically, and it is the blackness that holds within space, like it, and it's, you know, always given this thing of being like dark or bad or misunderstood or even suppressed, yet it is the most and container energy that holds everything around us. And there's all these elements that I think need to be understood more, and that's just something that I'm not here to teach at this moment, because I have to learn it myself.
Well, I mean, just you creating this incredible platform that gives a voice to a show like Her Story, right? Where Anne, Tamara, and I are remembering the goddess and awakening the divine feminine energy within, like for the sound healing, like you creating this space. It's like protecting the feminine. We were talking about, like, literally, this is the picture of Eve, right? That Kim created. And then we've got the two knights over here protecting it and holding it down. Like, that's what you're doing. And eternally grateful for that, David, because it really does take a level of an ascended consciousness to be able to hold the space for the feminine to rise. And we are inevitably rising. We are, right? But the point is to come into balance and harmony with the masculine. And this is a new level of consciousness that the masculine is learning. How do we now support the empowered feminine
without trying to control it,
without kind of control it or shape it or mix it or letting it, you know?
I've just said, you guys go, or you ladies, sorry, right? There's another, right? You guys, our whole society is really embedded in this masculine thing. It's not about removing the masculine, but there's corrections that need to be made to balance it out. But one of the things I noticed through really integrating this huge feminine part of High Vibe has been, here's all the tools, have fun. I'm not here to tell you how it's gonna look or what you're gonna say, or just go.
Yeah, and it's been a dream come true, David. Because
I've seen in Hollywood, as you and I met on one of literally the biggest reality shows of all time, that there is no such thing as creative control for women in many aspects.
Well, the feminine energy is very creative, right? It's receptive, but it's also very creative, you know? So that is, and the masculine is holding the space for that.
Or how many red carpets do we go to and it's like, oh, okay, let's use the feminine for a side shot or whatever, or individual shot to glam up the party, but then inside the party, it was always you and I having to go find some weird, creepy dude to talk to about selling a show, or let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't like we found. It wasn't like you and I were looking for some goddess woman who was like killing it and producing and making all this happen in Hollywood.
Well, there was a woman producer who for True Beauty, right?
No, I know. Well, yes. God bless her soul.
Yeah.
She did pass just, I think it was 2 years after the show, not even.
Yeah.
And she also did, what was that show on ABC, the house show?
I'm trying to think. One of like the renovation shows, right?
Yeah, with the guy who was the host.
Ty?
Remember, he was like, they would go give somebody a house, like, and they would build it.
They would fix it up. Yeah. I do remember that.
It was a huge show. It was actually one of ABC's biggest shows. She was the executive producer for that. But even with her, though, she had a very masculine
She did.
energy.
She did.
So what I'm trying to say is that there's a little bit of backstory that you and I have that not a lot of people ever go through.
Right.
Being on ABC, being on In People magazine, being primetime. ABC doesn't do a lot of reality shows. It's like just The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, Bachelor's Paradise, True Beauty. Like, it's not like this wider range of reality shows on ABC. So we went through a very rare experience, and to see, I mean, I remember when we all got together and we went over to Ketchup to Ashton Kutcher's restaurant, because he was producing the show and so was Tyra Banks, and we all went there with so many hopes and dreams and got crushed in Hollywood by a lot of things. Or we went to these red carpet events, and no, there wasn't a feminine energy around that was there. It was a masculine, and it almost, the masculine was always, and it was hard being your boyfriend. And like, you know, it's like, sure, they're down with it when you're there and I'm there, but it's like, unless maybe if Erika calls and wants a meeting alone or something, that maybe they'll pull it through. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it was like, that's just some true shit.
I mean, there is a lot of messed up that's Hollywood, right? And we were trying to do the Hollywood thing then, which wasn't working, right? So I mean, we had some successes. We had success. We did. And I mean, even after we broke up, I went full on my acting career, and for me, that was a childhood dream that was fulfilled, right? That was little Erika just like being so excited and so happy. But the reason why you are one of my greatest inspirations is because I feel that you are a true testament to believing in your dreams with every part of your soul and going for it 100% with laser focus, like full on, you know, just like so dedicated and devoted to the dream, right? And doing it in your own way.
I mean, you were there. You were making more money than I was. You were never stressed about the rent. You were more stressed if your boyfriend was going to come through with the rent money. There's nothing wrong with that. It was tough.
It was a tough time. I
had made that choice. If I'm not doing the job market again, and I'm being an astrologer at a time when, let's be honest with you, nobody was talking about astrology.
No, you are the pioneer of that and bringing it into the consciousness and the way that you do. It just, completely like shifting the whole vision of like what an astrologer is, how you embody the celebrity astrologer, right? You're the first to do this in this way, and you do it the best. And you are just, it's a huge inspiration to me, and I feel to us all, like just believing in the dream, keep on going for the dream. Like, it's so embodying all of your Leo energy, well, I think right? Like just loving it with every part of yourself, every part of your soul, just like going full in no matter what. And and I always saw that, David.
I know that, and I appreciate that. And you were supporting it. Yeah, but it was very funny. I've said this maybe one time before out loud, but we had moved in together Thanksgiving weekend of 2010. And then we had that month of setting up our place, and it was the holidays. So it was like, but I'll never forget. I think it was like January 3rd, or I don't know. It was right there. And it was 2011. And you and I wake up and we're in bed, and you look at me and you're like, so Gemini, like, so you're going to be like working?
Stop.
No, I'm telling you a positive thing.
Dream.
I'm telling you a positive thing about astrology and why I trust you as an astrologer, because you experienced the magic that I was doing with astrology, that in many ways I watched your experience through it go, what the heck? Because like you were into it, but you had never seen it at such a level to where I'm like not stressing, where I go, I'll never forget telling you this. I'm like, you might think, and you weren't upset. You were a feminine who needs security, right? And a masculine that needs to provide just the energy. And I wasn't to provide security and pay for you. It was just to take care of myself.
I was holding down the security for myself.
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to tell. That's what I'm saying, is that it was the question of, we knew you were good. I was the one who had no savings, sold everything, and was living in Christopher Witecki's in Miles in his son's bedroom.
Yeah.
and was working for Soul Garden to pay for that rent that I could only be there 5 days a week. And then on the weekends I drove around because I had nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
Or I'd go fly to see you in New York before you. But what I want to say is that it was that first week in January, and it was 2011, and I'm trying to paint the picture to people of like this whole, you know, you're in a new relationship and you're living together, and I had no job, right? I was doing this, and you looked at me and like, so you gonna have work or everything will be okay? And I go, the sun, Mercury, and Pluto are all meeting on my Jupiter in Capricorn today. And I remember, and I'm not, this is just a normal thing, because any normal person would say this. You're like, really? Like you're gonna give me that as your answer right now? I go, yeah, I am. 2 hours later, I got that email from Joel about Star Hearts, and that was my whole year. That's how I met Michael Erlewine, and then I went on, right? But do you remember? And then it was like 3 days later, I was in Bel Air at a meeting with, I won't mention the celebrities, but I was at a big celebrity's house, like literally within hours of me telling you that. And I think that was the moment that shifted it. Maybe it wasn't for, I don't know, but for me to see you go, you pulling some tricks out of a hat here?
I know you're a magician, though.
Right?
I know you're a wizard.
Right?
And I like, truly from my heart, David, I always believed in you.
No, I know that.
Always.
I know that.
You know, like I always saw it. I always saw the vision. That's the reason why I painted the little sparkly sign at, you know, like for Venice Beach, and we would sit all day.
I know.
Right?
And I would talk to all those
loved
people.
it. And to me, it was like fascinating. Like I appreciate it, you know, especially like that entrepreneur spirit. Like I love that energy. You know, I'm Sun opposed Uranus, like Venus and Aries in the 10th. Like do it your own way.
There was no internet either.
You know, yeah, we were doing what is it called? Podcasts before there were podcasts.
I know.
Right? Like and I always, and that is something like you help like push me out of my comfort zone with that, because I have Lilith on Neptune. Right? A lot of my inner work, where I have done a lot of healing this lifetime, is feeling safe and free to express myself, and especially in like a spiritual way, because of past life like persecution wounds, like witch wounds. I call them witch wounds.
Well, I mean,
and
just moving from New York
that.
to California was a huge difference in how to express yourself.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Even though, let me be honest, I love all the Long Islanders in New York.
I love
all the.
New York.
I'm best friends with your ex-boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like Matt DeMar, my boy. You know what I mean? Like
he's family. You know, it's soul fam.
But that's how you and I are. It's like people like might not understand that.
Oh, we're so
either.
Real though.
Like you know what I mean? Like some people are like, what? Like I don't get it. I'm like, well, you just need to just wake up to the world.
I really feel like, especially like bringing it back to the Pleiadian connection, right? Your moon, my sun in the Pleiades, Bringers of the Dawn, the Pleiadian book, being that catalyst and that shift
during the time of that eclipse,
on the Pleiadian
and the Venus
eclipse, the great
there.
American eclipse, right? Like for you
Venus
and
eclipse
I,
too. Venus
the Venus eclipse, exactly. We just had that same Venus cycle, right? This year with you and I, David. I feel it's beyond Erika and David.
Yes.
And it's the mission.
Yes.
You know, I feel like it's a soul contract, supporting one another in the mission. You know, like we've had our ups and downs and all around, right? But it is like it's just a really, it's this level of support that is the divine masculine and divine feminine coming together. It's like this almost like unconditional support, you know,
100.
like, you know, my soul, I know your soul, you know, and I know what you're here to do, and I honor that, and I support it, and I believe in it, and I feel that you do with me too, you know, and that's the Pleiadian mission.
Well, I think that what you bring up is that mission beyond you and I, which that's why I think it's been important to even this conversation's going a lot of different places. What would you expect though? But
Gemini, Mercury on your
Leo,
rising.
But I was going to say that I think it's important for people to hear this.
Yeah.
And what you and I have gone through too.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of and we were in tabloids, and I mean, it's a very weird journey.
It's a super weird journey, but I feel like you and I wouldn't have it any other way.
No,
you know,
I mean,
it's weird,
right? We wouldn't have it any other way.
Epic.
But I think what helping people to see though, is however that you get to this place, that it is beyond you as a self.
Yeah.
Even though that self has to be used as the vessel to do this work here. That there is a mission that a lot of us have been called up to. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what your school, in a way that I teach it differently, right? I can access it people for other ways, but there is a lot of feminine and also just even, you know me, I know all the stars like crazy.
Yes.
I'm very more analytically. It's kind of crazy. I'm actually very channel-y and all that.
100%.
But there is something about me when it comes to when I get into the stars or when I get more analytical, where you bring that essence that I'm not tapping into on readings. My guides don't channel that feminine place.
It's so interesting because that is where I feel like my mastery is.
So that's what everybody in this mission.
Yeah, we have our own little way of being of service.
We all have our own. Or John Edwards said it best, and I've worked with him, is everybody is an instrument. And some people, and like for him, I think he said, I think, or maybe it was Cat who said he was like a tuba, you know, he's very loud. And so some people like they need that. Yeah. And then some people need maybe a flute, or they might need, right? Like there's different vibrations of how it comes. I mean, I would definitely be like a well, I guess a DJ whole system with a loud, you know, metal guitar going down. Yeah. So
my Cancer rising, right, on Sirius, right?
Yeah.
Mine is I'm like I'm a cosmic cheerleader, right? Like when I'm channel, and it is channeling, right? When I'm like doing the Starseed DNA activations, or like working with the asteroids and all that goddess energy, it's for sure channeling. Like the chart is how I kind of like tap in, and then it's just comes through, right? A lot of it is Akashic, because we're talking about the different timelines. You know, we're talking about the quantum realm. So I'm like tapped into that.
And you do your retreats up in Shasta.
Yeah, and I love me some Shasta.
And I mean, but your main thing besides this is you do these sound activation healings, and through doing the singing bowls and your voice, that is just another level to it all. I mean, it really is. It's just like the ultimate, like completing thing.
I love sharing the sound. And for me, I feel like that is a lot of, well, there's two things. It's Hathor priestess lineage. I feel like whenever I see a connection to Hathor, the ancient Egyptian goddess, there was a whole mystery lineage under like Hathor, right? That's a lot of where my soul voice comes from. When I'm singing, it's like channeling from my soul. That's why I call it a siren song, right? It's like this very serious aquatic mermaid vibe. Also, like I feel tapped into the angelic realm when I am sharing that. The singing bowls came to me in a dream. So I had been singing all my life, right? You know this. I was like a recording artist way back in the day. You know,
I say that from that producer meeting. Some guy with this producer meeting, and he wanted to do sex robot women music.
It was the weirdest thing. It was a weird audition.
But,
it was a weird audition.
And he looks at me, and Erika starts singing. He goes, "That chick can blow. Wow, she can blow." He was all racked up. We're gonna make sex robot girl music. I'm like,
and I was like, I don't know about that.
I don't know about that. And then it was weird. Kind of the music today is kind of sounding like that.
It does.
So he was on to something then.
He was on some Aquarius new vibe. Yeah, I mean, singing.
And
music.
You were there when I went to the Freemason.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I was like, David, went to you and I said, I'm going to join the Freemasons right now. I just basically got and I went there and I was about to join. They put me, you were there, then they took me up they took me into the temple.
I had to sit in the car. I was sitting in the car, waiting.
This is true story.
Because women aren't allowed in the
I know.
up there.
I know.
So I was sitting in the car and I was like,
full They were all in their full gowns and their full outfits, and they literally, they took me up.
They were trying to make you do a blood oath.
No, basically, I got the official invite.
I know. And that I was like, no, David.
I went to you in the car and I said, I asked you if I should join, and you told me no. I was actually a little upset. I was that right there.
I'm like, the Illuminati can't have you. We need you.
So
for
anybody
the
who has
light.
questions about it.
Yeah, I was like, stay in the
I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to go. I asked my girlfriend at the time, like, so I'm gonna join the Freemasons, and you're like, no, and I'm like, we're in front of the temple too, in my car. And I'm
like, we're going home.
I went into the temple. They all took me. The 33-degree Mason and the 32 and like a 30 all took me up there. Remember?
I remember.
I DJ'd that party, and I don't even think it was for the party, because remember, I'm playing house music and I'm playing all this stuff, and to Masons who were like falling over half dead. And it was very weird, and then just all to take me up there. It was very weird.
But also,
very weird.
Like, I mean, it was orchestrated. It was purposed to be that way. I remember that day, and I was like, no.
I didn't even know who the person was. You remember that?
Yeah, well, because they found you were powerful. They were trying to take you to they were trying to take them to the dark side.
I mean, I don't know. I'm still gonna say I don't think Masons are dark. But.
Well, I don't think. See, that's the thing. They use a lot of ancient Egyptian mysticism and mystery and wisdom school teachings, like from Goddess Isis, from Hathor, from the lineage of Horus, but a lot of it, they're taking it from these roots, but a lot of it has been hijacked. A lot of it has been like corrupted to be used for like dark, right? Like not, and I'm not even just saying shadow, like dark. For instance, I mean, most of the presidents, right, are Freemasons.
I mean, a good portion, but not a lot.
There is a lot of that kind of symbolism even within Washington, D.C., right?
Course, yes.
So the same way that the pyramids, perfectly align, the Great Pyramid, and I mean, I know you know this, but I'm just sharing it, perfectly align with Sirius, right? The queen's like goddess chambers align with Sirius, the king with Orion,
the Lion's
right?
Gate.
With Orion. We won't even go to the Lion's Gate. I know you hate the Lion's Gate.
I know.
they take Washington D.C. is aligned in the same way to Sirius and the way, and a lot of these sacred sites are. A lot of the sacred sites are aligned
or Hollywood
with
is on the
100%.
The same ley line, and even
the same ley lines, and they purposefully are aligned with the ley lines because these are potent, powerful vortexes.
That was the Santa Monica Mason, like
it just didn't I'm a Cancer rising. It just didn't feel good to.
So I have a surprise for you.
Yes,
I'm playing Maury right now. Okay. The test results are in. Since we've been broken up for 8.5 years, did David join the Masons after we broke up? The test results are in. He did not join the Masons.
You know when they all do the little dance and Maury, and
I miss Maury show. What happened to Maury?
Because we would need an audience to get us.
I know we
amped.
need that, and I need that test. Hey, we're gonna find out.
That is so funny. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's always time. I'm sure it was an open invitation, or maybe it's not.
Oh no, I had another.
Did you? Do we want?
It was just reading,
Oh yeah.
Person wasn't
I
here.
don't think it's I mean, it's definitely polarizing, but I don't think that there's anything that's just like all evil or all bad. I do think that they have used specifically Egyptian mysticism and tradition and wisdom, right? But they've co-opted it, when it was really meant to honor the divine feminine and the goddess. And that's what I feel is
Well, yeah, you talk about Isis as well in charts.
I love working
so
with
how do you feel,
Goddess Isis.
So we mentioned to end up this talk, so to the end of 2020, definitely this election is going to cause a lot. We already know that. But what are you feeling for people, what they need to, what would help bridge them from here in October to the end? And it actually, it's going to feel a little weird. It's going to feel like I believe that 2020 doesn't end.
Yeah.
There's not going to be some, oh, this feels different. We're in 2021.
Right. I think there is going to be a shift once Saturn moves into Aquarius, right? Especially with Jupiter there. It's going to feel like a lightness and a brightness, and it's not going to be as heavy because we've had all of these like powerhouses in Cap, like just hitting, and then the square with Eris and Mars retrograde and like all the things. Plus, like I said, we've got this Lilith is just flying back and forth over Uranus. So there is going to be like, rising up and rebel
and
spirit
Mars.
and renegade and Mars, and it's all kind of being ignited. My biggest like takeaway, it's 2020 has been a wild ride, right? But it's like number one, courage to embody your truth, to speak your truth, to share your gifts. I feel like really share, like just the mission, right, is so important now for all of us. Like Starseeds, yes, of course, but all of us to really align with the mission, with whatever your mission is, to align with souls that support that mission, that have a similar vision, that aren't a distraction, right? Like making sure your soul tribe is solid,
right,
and real, right? And that's like got your back. I think that's really important, being really mindful of the people that are in your space, like tuning in, like how pure is this energy, right? Like, does this person have my back? Like holding on to that, really like aligning the little team, right? And like the divine team and soldiers, right? Courage, I think, is a real important part of it, to like speak your truth and use your voice, to share your gifts with the world and to be of service, like, and to be able to really show up, right? I think is a big part of it. But I do think it's going to get lighter in 2021. It's not like it's like, oh, the tower crumbled in 2020 and now it's a whole new world, right? It's not going to be that vibe, but there is going to be a shift when Saturn comes in, because this is the more quantum realm.
It'll be Neptune square the nodes.
So there's kind of, and so that might kind of throw
you came
people
into
off.
my life again at one point when Neptune was squaring my nodes and my panic disorder and all that. I mean, it's going to be a panic disorder for the planet.
I mean, that's so grounding.
I'm preparing people for that.
Grounding. I mean, grounding is super, super important. But we've been doing the shadow
grounding's
work,
one
right?
thing, but it's the mind, because Mercury is with Saturn and Pluto on January 12th.
Yeah.
That they are injecting things into people's minds of how, and people's minds are going to be, they're very fragile at this moment, and they're very easily to be manipulated and controlled. Mm-hmm. By what we're seeing in the media, by what we're seeing in a lot of places. So you can ground, you can do your yoga, you can do whatever, but if you're still messed up here and not willing to see the truth, then grounding is grounding within to the dark force that's out there.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's
so actually
deception.
People could be doing, right? People could actually be grounding in dark force even stronger by their grounding techniques.
Well, that's when you declare it not to be, right? And that's how we reclaim our power, we reclaim our sovereignty, by aligning with the forces that we want to align with. And universal law is, once we declare it, then it can't. It can't infiltrate. So that's a big part of it. I've had people ask me, like, when I'm doing a Starseed activation, for instance, like, well, what about, like if something comes up and it's like dark energy and they don't want to go there, the way that I channel, I only work with benevolent energy of the highest light, of the highest order. Like, that is what comes through to me. I know that is my sole purpose. I don't see that as a benefit for anyone, and it literally like doesn't come through to me. I'm not saying that I don't work with the shadow. I mean, I'm Venus opposed Pluto, right? So like I do, and I love Lilith, I love Lilith, and I love dark feminine. I love dark feminine and all that. But I think it's really important that this is the reason why it's important to align with the soul tribe, right? And we're all reuniting right now. Make sure the people in your life like really got you back. Feel into that. Use your intuition. Use your discretion. Don't fall victim or to the fake news or to the BS or to the distortion, because Earth is a place of duality, right? We're in the 3D duality zone, right? But the veil is thinner, and people are waking up in an accelerated rate more than they ever have before. I was just so I did a reading earlier with a woman that's from the East Coast. She lives in California now. And we were talking about it because she said how interesting it is. She's back at home on the East Coast. And she's like, it's so interesting like to be here now, because she feels more understood than she had before for embodying her, like being on her spiritual path and kind of being really unique. She's got an Aquarius North node, so she's kind of seeing it. And I've seen that too within the last year, like people that I grew up with that are like, what is Erika doing? She's like with this crazy astrologer guy, and now she's doing astrology, and like Erika's lost her mind, right? But people are doing more.
I remember coming into your world and
people are like, what did it do? You know, like what is going on?
It was the DJing that I did that at least made me kind of
open the door.
Like, that's I guess I used that as a way in my life.
A bridge.
Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a bridge, you know. But people are like more open to it now, even like stuck in certain belief systems and structures, South Node and Sagittarius, that are not serving you is not the vibe. It's not the way. It's just going to get, you know, you're going to be off course. So it's like, no, just don't get stuck in that kind of like cycle, that rut, these old beliefs that are just like holding you back, these old paradigms. That is where we can fall to the deception, right? It's being able to discern. And people are discerning truth now better, more than ever before. There is so much information out now from all different resources. And it's like snooze the news, right? Like, and people know it. That's one thing, like Trump that he did, I will say, like at least he like illuminated all of this nonsense with the news. That's why High Vibe is so great. Like we can talk about these kind of things and it's not bias. It's like bringing it back to the roots of sharing information and being a messenger, because it's like we're not on anybody's payroll. So we can talk from like the heart and from the spirit and from the soul. Right? And it is the disruptive spiritual network. That's the purpose of it.
I agree. And I think your school, called Beyond the Planets, is important because when you brought up the belief systems, I feel that there's been great lessons that have been taught by the spiritual community over the last 100 years.
Yeah.
And beyond, of course.
Totally.
But especially, I'm just going to be real, when it comes to the secret, when it comes to a lot of this kind of vision boards, and, you know, it's like,
it's a little fluffy, right?
It's a little fluffy, and I think that people need to like go beyond.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be honest, you and I were together during the time when we were both manifesting our dreams.
Yes.
And we were very lucky to manifest our dreams, and then we got to our dreams and realized that wasn't the mission.
Yep.
So, and it was not vision boards, and it was not the secret.
Yeah.
And it was not any of that. It was tapping in beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what your school's going to go into. And it's going to go into places that embody a bunch of, I mean, you go by crystalline codes. There is a code within all of us. And you have a decoder for some very intricate codes that are in your own way. And I do that in my own way. And you know, I've brought lots of astrology. Everybody's seen. I've done. I don't even know how many astrologer interviews that I've brought on. Right, but if there's anybody in the world that has been there with me at the beginning, that I know has it, that understands the whole same mission that I feel that a lot of us do in the Lightworker community, to be you. And so I've never built a school of astrology for anybody else.
Yeah.
And I really feel that people should take it seriously when I say to definitely take a look at this course with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And or to get a reading as well. So the best place to find you is at Crystalline Codes.
Yeah, so on my
Instagram.
social networks, Crystalline Codes, and then the spiritual channel is where you can
No
find
more
me
Divine
for
Inner Goddess?
readings. That was blog. I still do that though. I still do that
was when we were together too.
Yeah, that was like OG 2012.
I remember pushing you into that one too. And I
Yeah,
remember teaching
yeah.
you how to buy a website. And
Yep.
hook it up. And here, I got you hooked up.
Technology brain is always like, you know.
It was like 2011.
Yeah. I really appreciate you saying that, David. Thank you.
No,
like
I
from
mean it.
you, because like I mean I look up to you. I really, really do in so many ways. Like you were the biggest catalyst for my remembrance and my awakening, and
Well, it's the same
to really
thing.
embody the mission.
I never thought I could get a feminine like you when I met you on the show. I was the outcast on the show and treated that way. And you were like my best friend on the show. Like, Taylor. Can't hurt my homeboy, you know. Taylor and I were very close, yeah. and we both love Taylor. And you know, Taylor's in our lives still. And,
yeah.
But I'm going to say that like the fact that you even accepted me was beyond. It changed me forever. And then to support me as an astrologer, and a lot of people don't know, I was doing Yelp readings on the phone and getting phone calls at 3 a.m.
Yep, I remember that.
And I would be like, sorry, I got to go in the other room. And you never complained once. You were like, go do it. And I had the weirdest, remember?
Yeah.
People were calling me at 2, 3 in the morning because I was up and then I was on the psychic network, that Bitwine. I was doing psychic readings for like 99 cents a minute.
I remember
that?
Yeah. And then that psychic place tried to kind of recruit you, and they wanted you to be there and doing readings like every day, all day. And you were like, no, I'm going to do it like my way.
Yeah.
You know, like you always knew that. You always
psychic
saw the vision. In Hollywood, in Sherman Oaks, right? It's like you always saw the vision. And it's, gosh, that's just such a testament to.
They actually turned me down originally. Remember that? I was really upset. And that's when I'm like, I'm going to go do it my own way. And then they got back to me like 3 months later and come in because they saw my videos. And I'm like, no.
They wanted you to be the star of their little reality show that they were trying to make.
Yeah, with Arthur.
Yep.
You know.
Arthur's a legend. He's a legend. Yeah.
I mean, he even did the movie The Astrologer, which I think it's so funny. I think I kind of embody that, but it doesn't go that bad.
Totally, you do.
And him and I have the same birthday too.
I know.
Right? So
a couple, yeah.
But I think it's funny with Arthur. He made this movie, The Astrologer, about this hotshot astrologer who makes money and like has nice cars and all that, and his whole downfall. Right? And I'm like, I don't like that movie. I don't like that movie because actually that's what I created, but I'm not going to have this crazy downfall, like, you know, because it was like that movie, it was like he lost the core understanding of the mission. Right. And so I think that's what's the most important. It doesn't matter about anything about money or anything like that. Even if, let's say you just, you know, get the ultimate dream of becoming on your mission, there'll always be distractions that you have to fight off, whether it is money or whether it is a relationship or whether it is, you know, people get obsessed about everything under the sun. Yeah. And people have to pay attention to that stuff and stay on that. And that's what's kept you and I together through it all, has been the mission. And it's being of service to something that like is greater, you know, like, and staying in the mission every day and embodying the mission and defining yourself as the mission, opposed to putting you and I together, put all these other things in front of the mission first. Like you, of course, were an amazing model and an amazing television actress and movie actress and commercial television actress. And I was a DJ and reality star. So it was like, we led with those, we made those happen, but that was the downfall. Right, when we were leading with that. And we were like, and we were so focused on the relationship, right? Right, and you and I became a famous couple that was like, oh my gosh, we were getting like sent to events and red carpets and TMZ pictures. And we were pushing that, we were pushing our identity as a couple as opposed to working towards, I look at it as we really do have like a parallel dream, right? And it's like, okay, hits, you know, so the acting and all that, it was a childhood dream. Like little Erika had to accomplish that, you know, and I was super proud of myself for all of that because no one really thought that it was possible. Right, that especially was the way that I grew up to do it. You know, before you were doing the mission, but then that mission changed to the divine wrapping change.
It was a mission for
repaint
me,
job.
Ego, right?
Yeah.
It was definitely like an ego thing, which I can admit, but an inner child thing too. But then the shift for me was really that 2012 and then 2014. It was like, yeah, this stuff is cool. Like the modeling is cool and the acting is cool, but there's something greater. There's something bigger. I need to use my voice. I have something to say. Like I was tired of saying someone else's lines and the way that they wanted me to say it. I'm like, I'm not a puppet. Like I need to say it. I need to express. Gemini, right? Mercury and Gemini. Like I had to speak my truth. I had to stand up. Like it just was very clear. And that was the shift. And then seeing the way that you embody the mission was a huge, just the inspiration that was like watching you like rise and shine and achieve all of your dreams in like the biggest way, David, was like, wow, yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I see it, you know, like that helped uplift me too. Like that is like your solar energy is so activating, like just to even be around you. For anyone that has ever been in David's presence, he's like, whew, the sun, right? Like fire. It's super activating. And I feel like the connection, right? Like our relationship, we activated each other. We kind of like readjusted, right? Like recalibrated. It's like, oh, okay, I remember. And then it's like, yeah, like let's go for it. Let's go. Let's do it, you know?
And supporting one another.
Exactly.
And I think that people, and there's other people that like, you know, I have Christopher Tecchi, who him and I support each other still. I just talked to him today, actually.
Yeah, who's
like,
an incredible astrologer. Chris is great.
I know. And he honestly, there's a lot of credit to him because not only did he activate me, but I feel like even with Craig was along for that ride. You were along for that ride.
Totally.
And I have to give props to Amy Miller, who went to my place September of 2008, was like, okay, I know you, she knew how much I loved astrology. She loved astrology. She was like, you need to watch this guy. And you know me, I'm not the kind of person, like, don't get on my computer. And she's a Capricorn. I'm like, letting a Capricorn get on a Leo's computer is like a nightmare. Because it's like, oh God, okay, and then the music too and everything. But she was just like, you need to watch this video. And then I watched Chris Witecki's video and I went, that was an activation.
Wow, yeah.
Instant for me.
Yeah.
And that was when I reached out to him, and it took a year and I of him talking, and then you came into my life right when him and I had begun our real deep friendship and kinship of astrology, and it was just like all of it happened all at the same time. Right? Well, that's the whole other weird Camelot part of the whole story too. And, and Pam Teague and past life regression work.
And I love Pam Teague.
Yeah, and
I
she's
think
part
phenomenal.
of that whole thing too.
There was, what the Solar Garden was a really beautiful space for healers, right? In all different kinds of modality. And in that time of my life, it was like, wow.
I know, and Julie as well, and Christian Ryder, and because I think Julie goes by Julie Day now.
Yeah.
And
great teachers.
I mean, amazing. Skip Jennings, and the work that he did and still does.
Yeah.
And he's at Agape, and
love me some Agape.
You know, in many forms, I feel I took a lot of that to bridge that to here, of course, but it can never be recreated like that was, because that was a bunch of light workers in physical form meeting. And doing the work out of a one-bedroom, or he actually, to give to Chris's credit, it was a one-bedroom apartment with a studio apartment that he broke the wall down because he was the manager.
Yeah.
So his bedroom was the studio apartment, and then he had the one-bedroom apartment that was like a two-bedroom apartment. But for all of us to film there, and you were there for all of the filmings, and at a time when we were all looked at as like, what? I mean, honestly, and we were predicting all this for the decade. Like, I remember in 2010 on New Year's Eve with Chris Witecki and us looking at each other like, well, this is going to be the decade, and 10 years from now, it's going to get nuts. Because I was like, yeah, Jupiter's opposing Saturn and Uranus, and Saturn is opposing Jupiter, Uranus, and all that. And I was like, this coming into 2020 will be in Jupiter-Saturn meet. And Chris and I were just, you know how him and I are, like just, him and I go to other worlds too. So I think it's important for the feminine, though, to have other feminine energy, just as much as it is for masculine, to have other masculine energy to connect on this level.
Absolutely.
And so, since I'm going to be real, 90% of my audience are female, there's a level that I can't go teach the feminine that's why I've brought them to you for this.
Thank you.
Because there's a level where I can't reach that. I can't. But I think, and I'm gonna bring up a very interesting, controversial subject to end this, about what 2020 is to me.
Yeah.
And this is only one little part of 2020, but I think it's a major part. If the feminine's gonna rise, the feminine has to, men used to do this a lot. Men used to be competitive. Have you noticed how men right now are not as competitive against each other? Men are supporting each other more than I've ever seen right now in my life.
Yes.
There's no hating between men anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. I know there might be some, but it's extremely rare. Where it used to be opposite. It used to be just like, who are you?
Yeah.
Dude, like, oh, whatever. Or even like what car you drive to, right? Like what music you listen to. Like, oh, like he listens to that. Like what a douche. Or he's a, we don't say douche to another dude, but you know what I mean? There's like, you know what I mean? Like, but the feminine right now is triggered by other feminine like crazy right now, especially in the spiritual community.
Yeah.
And I feel that it is important for the feminine right now, in order for them to come together and do their best work right now, to not judge other feminine energy right now and see the feminine within each other. It might look different because feminine, you guys all, like I said, have all the built different knobs. You guys are Venus. You guys are fired up. You guys have all this fired up energy. That beauty's involved with Venus. Like men, we're simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we all realize as men that, we're kind of at this new revolution of that we've all found a lot of the feminine within ourselves. So we're applying that in our masculine, and it's like we're all coming together like instant.
Yeah.
I have not had quarrels with a dude. You know what I mean? Like, like it's just like there's not a lot of quarrels.
We're coming back to it though, because I really do feel that that is the natural way of the feminine. We are inclusive, we care, we nurture, we love, right? It's the programming that has conditioned us away from that to like look at someone and be like, oh, like what is she doing? Or like that like whole cattiness and like the picking apart and dissecting and all of that. That is not the natural way. That really isn't. It's just dogmatic programming that we are like breaking free of. That is, it's gonna feel like a new paradigm, but it's not. It's an ancient paradigm. And that's what her story is about, right? Her story, which is a dream come to life, truly, to be able to create a talk show, a women's talk show, talking about these subjects in a real way. Working with Anne and Tamara is an honor. Like, so I am so inspired by both of them. I learned so much from them. And for us to come together, right, talking about Lilith was our first episode, Mary Magdalene, right, was our second episode, and not just like illuminate the legacy of these women or the mythology or the goddess, but also going into historically how these archetypes are within us all, and then bringing it back to now modern, right? Like how we can embody this, how we can support one another, because that is what it is. It's like love, like allow, like holding space for each other to shine.
Which
in
you're
your
seeing,
own real,
though.
authentic way.
I'm seeing it. There's more women's circles than I see ever. But there is still.
I mean, it's,
and I'm saying this as a masculine who just, I've been around the block. Okay, in life, especially living in LA and then, Orange County and San Diego, and I go to Vegas and I go, oh, me. I'm like, and I have a network of 90% women and the hundreds of thousands of people, and 500,000 basically people have come through the apps over the last 7 or 6 years, right? So it's like 90% of them female. And what I see is when it doesn't look a certain way for a feminine to another feminine, it's like, it's like judgment before.
It's a judgment.
It's a judgment.
It's the judgment.
And I'm saying that because there might even be people right now just being like, oh, well, okay, yeah, who's this? Or, oh, that's David's ex, or that's, right? Like they might have instead of looking at the mission. And that's What I think,
or what I have to say.
That's what 2020 in the end is here. Is like, do you all understand the mission?
Yeah.
And do you all understand that anybody of any creed, of any, nature of soul, instead of identifying through so much of, is it masculine or is it feminine or is it, and the racial stuff is horrible right now that's going on, but it's also like remembering we're all on the same mission right now, and let's get back to that mission.
Yep.
And how masculine is looking very right now at each other, not as any kind of certain type of person or creed or color or anything, but just as another masculine. It's
a
like
soul, right?
Yeah,
like a human.
I'm seeing that more than I've ever seen, and
I think that's a big part of Chiron moving through Aries, right?
Right.
We're healing the masculine. We're healing our egos collectively, right. And we've got a long trek through Aries.
Look at what Joe Rogan has done. I don't know if you noticed this about Joe Rogan, but it's pretty much all men on his show.
That is very true.
Right? Whereas Howard Stern, let's just take it 20 years back, loved to just use women and bring them on as...
I loved Robin.
Don't get me... No, I know he has Robin. But what I'm saying... And she's a little masculine, though.
She was very maternal, actually. She had a very maternal
I know, but
vibe.
I'm saying, though, she had to be a little masculine to handle... I'm not talking crap on Howard Stern at all, because I think that what he's done...
his guests were very,
he would also use the feminine as... play toy energy on the show, and not. I'm not going to say he was disrespectful. Maybe there's some things that probably
throwing baloney on women's butts.
I know, and some of it was for comedy and all that stuff. And I get it, but that's what I'm saying is the difference now. Is even when Howard Stern brings a man on, until recently, that's what he's been doing. He's been getting more deep.
Yeah.
So that's how you can kind of tell. Or like Bill Maher, I think, is doing a great job of not dividing, but bringing on all different versions of all people, and has always been very diversified. I think he's the best identification of an Aquarian leader at the moment. And, really, not only if something that he disagrees with, he'll say, that might not go even along with his own political lines. He's a Democrat. But he's somebody who is inclusive and opening up and seeing whoever a soul is.
Yeah.
Just a soul, whoever they are.
Yeah.
To bring them on and to speak and to do that. And that's whatever is on his journey. I think that if people start continuing to keep basing it off, well, I should be connecting with this person because they're this and because they're that and da-da-da-da, it's missing the mission. That might not be on the mission for you.
100%.
Whatever is just in your divine understanding of your mission, and what is out there in the beyond is what you're going to teach to help find that. And I think it's exciting, and I think it's important more than ever, because I think that's what this 2020 on one very high level is, remembering the mission and being able to see others beyond your triggers, beyond your, that's the mind stuff.
And without projecting how you think it's supposed to look or how you think it's supposed to be, right? That's like all this Neptune energy. It's that witch hunt energy that you talk a lot about, right? Yeah, it's that witch hunt thing. Yeah. Like, oh, she's too much this, so she can't be this, and I'm just, and that's actually an attack on the feminine, that mindset, right? And the feminine the feminine already has been attacked by masculine enough. It doesn't need its own feminine to attack it. We don't need it. It's like, rise, sister, rise. Like, let's remember how, remember our roots in that way. That is that inclusive and caring and loving and my little Cancer rising. Clueless. Is like, no, we just like not trying to be kumbaya, but it's like, No, it's Clueless, the movie, on how they're all different. Right. And they're all beautiful. And they all learn and from each other different things. And they've all got their own vibe, yeah. Which is very Aquarian. If they didn't learn all that stuff in between those three, then they would have never been better. 100%. Yeah. Right? So, it's like that. And I know that's such a stupid movie, but I actually enjoy that movie a lot. I like that movie too. But it's like, and that's what I think this is. And I think that, and I think that's not what, of course, the course is about, but I would say that there's a lot to even be able to give people the understanding of this course, that actually doing this course is beyond the planets, meaning
we have to go beyond even normal things to get people to understand.
Beyond their traditional roles, beyond what's
that.
perceived as like acceptable or permissible for the feminine, right? Like traditional astrology, and I you know, it's that Venus and the moon, right? And then it's like, okay, this is only, it's either the lover or the wife or the mother, and those are like the acceptable roles.
Saturn,
it's like all the
even though it's a
and
masculine attached to it, it actually is feminine in Capricorn.
No, okay, yeah, right. But the working with the asteroids gives all of these other beautiful
or Jupiter
elements
Pisces
and
would be feminine too.
Right. All of these different elements and flavors, like illuminate, bringing all of this, because there's much of the feminine is like, wait, that I don't fit into that. So does that mean that I'm not feminine? Like, stop trying to like put the feminine in a box, right? That it's like it only has to look this way or be this way. That's not the way.
Venus.
You know, and you talked about this earlier, which was so beautiful, talking about like the cosmos and the mysteries, right? Like it is this unknown, it is this mystery. Like, what is she? We don't really know, and that's what's so beautiful about it. You know, the undefinable.
Yeah.
Is what's so beautiful.
But it can be defined as long as you understand.
If we want to, right? Like, but we are the ones that are to define it, not someone else putting that on us or projecting it, right? Like, it's like open mind, open heart.
Yeah.
You know?
But that's, I think, that's important to know in the teaching of this, is that looking at all those areas and the starseed energies and
all the ancient Egyptian like alchemy that I look at, like going deep into the goddess, it's like going into all of my little secrets that I'm super.
There's a lot of that goddess in there.
It's that I'm super excited to share for really like the first time in this way, because this is like channeled downloads and transmissions and how to like.
I think at your retreats and stuff you do this, but it's like to be able to actually do it in a form like we've created at High Vibe TV School for people to be able to watch at home and learn it and apply it into their lives.
Which is the biggest thing, right? Because I want them to be able to see this. And so I really believe that empowering others to lead and to share their gifts, right, with the world in their own way, to like show up and be of service in whatever way feels good to their soul, like that is the vibration of this new age,
100%.
Right? So that for me is like the mission of this school, to empower others, to show up, to lead, to be able to learn this so that they can then teach other people and share this if they want to be an astrologer. But you don't even have to be an astrologer to do it, right? It's like learning this, and then you can connect with your mother and your daughter and your sisters and be like, hey, maybe this vibration of the feminine didn't resonate, but like you've got this energy and look at how it's in your chart, right? Like I want to bring this like ancient knowledge and reclaim it. A big part of this is reclaiming this knowledge in the way that it was initially, like originally intended, which was like just love and inclusivity and like empowering others to lead so that they can rise and show up like really in their own way. That is my biggest goal and intention with this course.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely got Venus and Aries. Well, I appreciate you, Erika, very deeply on levels that I already know that you know. But for everybody out there and my audience and the High Vibe audience, I just want to say that it's like, it's a big deal for me over the last 8.5 years, which is ironic that it's actually like 8.5 years now, because we're in Libra and it was Aries, April 10th of 2012. You were there. It was at our kitchen table that I started doing these horoscopes every day. That by bringing on Erika even to do this school is a major shift in all of the collective conscious of the viewers through this platform and the Leo King, because they're so used to this masculine all the time. And it would even be more triggering that it would be my ex-girlfriend that I'd pass the baton to teach these things that I don't teach. And I ask you to see within yourself out there and go, are you ready to go over those triggers and go beyond and go to places that are different? Because I'm doing that myself.
Thank you. Really, thank you, David.
Of course.
Thank you for allowing my voice and my message to be shared in this way, because from the deepest part of my heart and my soul, I really, really appreciate it. This is really a dream come true. So thank you.
Oh, of course. Well, it's a dream come true to see you here and to see that you made it after I left. I was like,
I'm still kicking.
You know what I mean? It was like we broke up, and I'm kind of like, we'll see if she makes it. As I'm at you and I at Astrology conference, a week later,
Right.
2012 in New Orleans. We'll see if she makes it.
And I'll say,
and I'll be honest. I mean, that was a little how I did it too. It wasn't even known at that time, but looking back. And I think that's what's trouble for people in relationships to end this 2020 thing is you might have to peace out on your partner at one point that's not fully there yet if you're going to be on the mission.
If you're going to be on the mission.
They have to know the mission too.
Yeah.
And they can't just be kind of supporting the mission
Wishy-washy
only. Yeah, exactly. They got to be all the way on the mission.
Full on.
And I think that's extremely what I've been trying to say for 2 years straight, that 2019, 2020 was the end of all relationships that are not in divine mission.
Yeah.
Period. And you were born with Saturn, Pluto, and Libra. Not to give away your age, but there it is. And that's your role too, is to teach people to find themselves, to empower themselves. But you're also going to be triggering their relationships in many ways with themselves and with the people that they associate with, and their own conceptual, deep Pluto Libran understandings of their subconscious hidden agendas that are triggered based off the relationships that they've had that have told them how to be or how to look at things and all that stuff. Saturn, Pluto, and Libra people are doing that to people right now.
Yeah, breaking down those.
Yeah, big time.
Limiting, that structure, just crumbling it.
I know you should have seen the guys before me, besides Matt DeMar. He's my boy, but you know what I mean? It was okay. Anyway,
let's not get it.
We're not going to get there. Maybe we can do it. We can go back to Beauty and the Grumble, our old talk show again. Maybe people let us know if you want us to do the real crazy talk stuff that her and I do. You can even look on YouTube, type in Beauty and the Grumble, and watch us almost 10 years ago.
And that was during an election, right?
Yeah, I mean,
we were talking about it.
We were talking about Mitt Romney and Obama.
Who's the one I
We were talking about Chaz Bono. We were talking about when he made his sex change. We were talking about some of those old episodes. We were talking about everything.
But there was one candidate that I loved, Herman.
Oh, Herman Cain. We did the Herman.
I
did the Herman Cain.
I thought it was so funny. And that was Ron Paul election, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that Ron Paul?
Yeah, it was Ron Paul.
Love me some Ron Paul too.
Remember we had Ron Paul stickers and we were all Ron Paul'd out.
Yeah, Ron Paul's a G.
Yeah, so anyway, everyone, check out highvibetvschool.com. You can find Erika's school in there, Beyond the Planets. And it starts October 3rd, so 13th. It'll be what days?
Tuesday.
Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. It is a 2-hour class, so probably go over or whatever. And it's just like if you were on my live masterclass. So but it's all different stuff. But it's just like that. And it's all set up, ready to go. And I appreciate you again, and thanks for being here and always in my life for multiple lifetimes, because in all my past life regressions it's there's Erika.
I'm just hi.
Okay. So
thank you, David.
Much love to you always,
much love to you.
Much love to you all too.